What's up, y'all? It is April 1st, first day of the month. Not super good trading day for me, not gonna lie. Kind of shitty this morning, I'm not gonna lie. Um, Ended up like bouncing back, did okay on an eval like during Asia session, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today is day three of the ARM, yeah, day three of the ARM series, auction reversal model. This one is not model specific. This is, let me check my audio really quick. Okay, cool. This video isn't like model specific, but this is probably the most important video out of all of them because this is like universal for everyone. Even if you're not trying to learn any of the concepts within my model or trying to learn how I trade or anything, this is the most important thing anyone can do for their trading. And I like wholeheartedly believe that. Today we're just gonna be talking about journaling and more importantly than journaling, what to do with your journal and um, yeah, basically what to do with your journal because I really think that's more important than actually just writing it. So really quick, we'll just read through this and then I'll give you my yap and then it'll be done because it is 10 p.m. and I want to go to sleep. I just didn't want to miss a day. I'm trying to stay consistent. You feel me? So what are you even journaling when you journal? I feel like most people when they journal, they get it confused with like logging an entry. Um, Trade or whatever broker you use does that already. You know, so like people will just write down, oh, I entered long with this much, I won or lost, and yeah, like that's all they'll write. Or they'll be like, they'll get a little more specific, like, oh, I entered off of an inversion, and I risked this much, and I lost, but I followed my rules. I honestly think that's almost a waste of time. Like, oh, that's not going to do much for you. It's not giving you much insight. And I think what you do with the journal is much more important than the actual act of journaling. Because some people will talk about, like, oh, writing scientifically helps you learn. Like, I don't think we're not trying to, um, we're not writing our journal because we're trying to learn what we're writing. We need to process that data to actually improve, you know? So, quickly, what do you want to write down? Basic performance. You know, you do need this. Track your entries, win rate, R multiple, drawdown. Did you follow your plan? Execution, and separate outcome from decision quality. That part is really important. A lot of people will call a winning trade a good trade, but maybe it was a questionable entry and they got lucky. You know what I'm saying? So you have to separate what's actually a good setup or A plus setup from what delivered. You know, just because a trade delivered doesn't mean it was an A plus setup. More importantly than how the trade played out is why you took the trade. So like your reasoning behind it, um, and things like that. I don't want to get too deep into it. We're in the first box. I can start yapping. I don't want to get on a tangent. So you want to track all your technicals, obviously. So quickly, win rate multiple, R multiple, all that. That's pretty important. You do want to track that, but that's not the main thing you're journaling. Two, what were you feeling before the entry, during the trade, after? And then these are just some common feelings: hesitation, FOMO, revenge, overconfidence. Um, like I said, I really think this is so much more important than this. Um, you know your setup. You know if you followed your rules or not. You know what the R multiple was. That almost doesn't matter when it comes to journaling, I feel like. This is a separate data set, you know? Your win rate, R multiple, expectancy, um, all of that. That's still very good data to track, but that's not going to improve you personally. You know what I mean? Because I feel like after a certain point in your trading, if you're taking it seriously, technicals aren't the problem. There's so much good free information, um, so many good free tools like AI stuff. There's so much good stuff that I feel like technicals shouldn't be your issue. Um, this is probably where your issues are in your psychology. So when you track your base data, that's what we'll call this, like your base performance data. You have your feelings, your psych patterns. This is where These two steps are where the important things come in. So when you have all of your entries, all of your data, you have how you were feeling before, during, after the trade, why you took the trade, your reasoning, everything. Looking at this data, looking at your trade data, and then your actual like mental while you were trading, and looking for patterns is what's really going to help you improve. So there are things like this first one. What or where do you perform best? What time, session, what conditions, what entry model do you prefer? Reversals over continuations? Do you prefer, um, just like things like that? I feel like that's pretty basic. That goes back to your performance data. Then where do you mess up consistently? This isn't just going to be, oh, I lose trades, you know. Then this one, where do you mess up consistently? This is the big one. And this, all of these in box number 3 are really important. So like I said, this first one you can get that pretty easily just from your performance data, like your performance data. You can see, am I winning most during the AM session? I start losing when I trade after 11. Maybe I should only trade the first couple hours, or maybe I do really good during Asia session, but I realize when I trade the reopen, I get chopped up. I need to wait for Asia Open at 7 or 8 p.m. EST, whatever. That will be pretty easy to figure out, this stuff up here. And same with this. Um, Same with this. Your model conditions session, that should be pretty easy to figure out. And then when it comes to where you mess up, I feel like a lot of people, um, especially when you're in a phase of when you're getting out of that break even stage, when you're trusting your system, you're winning trades, maybe you're passing challenges, got a couple payouts, kind of like where I am now. People blame losses on just a losing statistic, which is true. Like, you do have to trust your statistic, but I genuinely feel like there is a reason for almost every loss other than oh, we're just rebalancing the statistic. Your entry could have always been more efficient. There's always better reason. You could have had different bias. What could have made you have a different bias? I feel like you really have to dig into those things when you're trying to improve. Once you're at a point of consistent profitability, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But when you're still in that improvement phase, I really think you should dig in and analyze everything. Don't overanalyze every single loss, because that's not gonna, losses have to happen, but you should be able to distinguish what's an avoidable loss and then what's actually just like, okay, this is just a good loss. So go in and find those. Like, where are you messing up? What's causing good losses versus bad losses? And also, what emotions show up in wins and losses, or losses versus wins. This was a big one for me because for me personally, a big realization I had, I tilt after break even trades. I'm getting pretty good at losing. Like, if I lose a trade, whatever, but I'd almost rather lose than have a trade go break even than a run. Um, and I don't know why. I think I'm just okay with being wrong, but when I'm not wrong and I still don't get paid or something, like, it just that's what will tilt me. Or even if I have a winning trade or a losing trade, like I get stopped out, but I get stopped to the tick and there's no re-entry to get back in, it runs TP, that will tilt me. Taking a loss, whatever. But that's a pattern I found myself. And again, that's basically leading into this one: identify triggers. And that leads into this last one perfectly: identify triggers. So what, not just emotions, put all of them together. So in what conditions are you feeling what emotions that make you mess up consistently? Start putting all of these things together so you can start getting like really valuable data. Um, Identifying triggers and what emotions show up kind of tie in together, because emotions are fine, acting on them is what will fuck you up. So identifying the emotions is good, but then what actually triggers you to act on those emotions? So I know when I hit break even and I see price going towards my take profit, that makes me emotional. But the trigger to have me go, the trigger to actually have me act on those emotions is when there's no re-entry up to that point, or when there's, kind of a bad example, but You want to find what the trigger is to what makes you actually act on the emotions, because the emotions are always going to be there. You're never going to turn to a robot and just not have emotions one day, but you need to figure out what triggers those emotions. And then oh yeah, process your data. When you're journaling, you have to be honest. Try as hard as you can not to cope to yourself, because you're only hurting yourself when you're doing that. um, Look for patterns, pretty much the same thing we just talked about. Focus on consistency over hype. Yeah, honestly, this top one is the most important. Be honest, not emotional. Don't in your notes blame price action, or blame platform issues, or blame the strategy, or you are the problem. If there's a problem, that's it's simple. Like, that's trading. It's you versus you. So if there's a problem, you're not seeing the results you want, is your fault. So figure out what that is as quickly as possible so you can get through it. And the last step, once you have all of this, actually do something. Like, I feel like a lot of people just genuinely think when people say, "Oh, journal your trades, journal your trades," they like it's not about the action of writing or typing or uploading your trading data, or you're like writing in your trading journal or typing in your notes. Um, More so, I think what you do with it is infinitely more important. I feel like that's just not talked about enough. It might sound like common sense, like obviously it's supposed to use your notes, but so many people have unusable notes. So like, I'll ask them, "Oh, what are you journaling?" Um, you know, uh, I'll write if I had a long buy, if I was biased for longs, and if I took a long, and if I won or lost. Like, well, that's why I think journaling is a waste of time, because you're journaling a waste of you're wasting your time. You're journaling nothing. So yeah, four, adjust and improve. Cut behaviors that lose money. For me, a big thing, I um I spent a long time trying to figure out like the perfect trailing stop loss protocol, and that was just losing me money. I'll show y'all an example in a second. I feel like this video is already longer than I want it to be, and I don't want to edit it. We're not gonna edit it. Y'all just gonna deal with it. My bad. Oh yeah, reinforce what works. So when you're seeing something that's consistently making you money, or you're seeing a pattern that, like back here, where do you perform best? Reinforce that. If you're seeing you do really well in the first 2 hours, only you trade the first 2 hours of that session. If you're seeing that, oh, whenever I trade past 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., I get chopped up. Well, cut that out. Just cut lunch session. You get to build a system that works for you. That's something I'm like super big on, because when I was trying to just copy paste other people's strategies, it didn't make sense to me because I didn't have their reasoning. When I could put a model together that was like out of my brain, not like I invented any confluences or anything, but it's all built off of my reasoning, how I read the market. So you have to reinforce what works for you. That's the most important part. We all know certain things work, but it might not work for you. And then this one, set rules for emotional control. This one's pretty simple. This is almost the same as risk management, but again, it comes back to number three. Um, Identifying triggers. What emotions show up in wins and losses. When you identify triggers, you can set rules for emotional control, but you first have to identify what those triggers are to even set a rule. There are basic rules that kind of are universal when you're starting, like, okay, maybe stop after two losses, or um, after a win, walk. There are things like that that work universally, but for me, like the one win or one trade a day just did not work for me. I like three trades a day. If I lose twice, I'll get off. If I win twice, I'll get off. It's just easier for me. If I go break even three times, I'll tilt. No, I'm playing. That was me this morning. But yeah, just find rules that work for yourself. Because perfect example, actually, when I was trading one trade a day, I was sitting there. Even if my one trade was a win, I would be frustrated because I wouldn't get off the charts. I'm not sitting there trading, but I'm still watching. I'm like, damn, there's like hella better opportunities, or there's more opportunities I could be executing on. Why only take one trade a day? I feel like that's a big thing, because um, that's a topic for another video. But this one's very, 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 very important to me. Refine execution, not just strategy. I'm gonna read it again. Refine execution, not just strategy. Refine execution. Okay. I don't want to say like I'm obsessed with like top and bottom ticking, but I feel like if I need to have a giant stop loss or if my trade is in drawdown for multiple minutes, my entry was bad. The strategy can still be good, the trade idea can still be valid, but my entry was bad. Um, I think that's very simple. Like a perfect example, when I got into inversions, entering at the candle close drove me insane because price is 9 times out of 10 going to come back and test the inversion. So why not enter there when I know all of my trades are going into drawdown? Not like drawdown's a bad thing, but again, identify what emotions you feel, identify your triggers. I don't like drawdown, so refining my executions and refining my entries was super duper important. I think I've been yapping on this long enough. I want to show you guys an example of what to do when you have all of this data. Once you actually go through, you track all this, you write all this, you identify this, you figure out this, blah blah blah. What do you do with this, or even how do you do this? Once you go through 1 and 2, you wrote everything down. Maybe you can't find the patterns. Maybe you're having a hard time figuring out what triggers you. Maybe you're having a hard time figuring out what triggers you, and you just need some type of feedback to like build this feedback loop. I'm gonna show you what I do to get feedback every day, and it's so easy, bro. AI. Feed your notes to AI, dude. Just feed them. Just give them your notes, okay? So this is every trade that I took in March. These are all my notes. I gave it to DeepSeek, and basically, well, this DeepSeek chat gets all of my trying to make sure I don't have nothing crazy in this sidebar. I'll close that. Let me go back to the top. So what do I do with all of my notes? Every day after a trading session, I just go to DeepSeek. I used to use ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is a little bit too agreeable and just like conversational and not analytical enough. Even when you prompt it to be like analytical, it's not analytical enough. So I use DeepSeek. You can use whatever AI you want. There's a lot of cool, fancy journaling apps that have AI built into them now. Like I think TradeC has AI built into it, which is pretty cool. Like there's stuff like TradeZilla. I don't think you need that, bro. Just write your notes and extract the important data, and you'll be good. So look, this is every trade that I took in March, every single one. Wins, losses, pre-market notes, recap at the end of the day, what I was thinking before the trade, what my entry was when I got in the trade, when I got out the trade, why I got out the trade, could I have stayed in the trade longer, all of that. And I asked it to give me a report card. I didn't ask for a report card, but it basically gave me a report card. But it broke everything down. Look, shows me how much money I'm leaving on the table per trade. That's, like I was mentioning, my biggest leak. Losses. Oh yeah, where I took avoidable losses. I'll leave avoidable losses. Exit management, the biggest leak, like I mentioned. It will show you all of this. It will break all of it down for you and give you all of the insight that you need. All of it. This is more trades. But I think it's very, very important that you start this feedback loop, that you start building data. Kind of lost my train of thought. This video is going a little bit too long. I think I got the important bits though. Write everything. Journal, please. It's going to help you a lot. Help me a lot. If you watch my Clueless to Payout video, I basically was saying the same thing. Journaling was the most important part of me going from blowing evals and just blowing evals from to getting payouts. Like it's that simple. Because we all of us know we're doing wrong. Even today, I overtraded today. I knew I shouldn't have taken my last trade, but I still clicked the button. That's an issue. I still need to improve. But we all know what our issues are. We all know what our rules are. We all know we need to follow our rules, but we don't. It's as simple as that. Like I said at the beginning, if you are having problems in your trading, if you're not seeing the results you want to see, it's your fault. So fix it. And hopefully this helps you fix it. Yeah. I'm finna go to bed. This video's too long. I'm not gonna edit it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.